Okay, lunatics. Uh, maybe one of the shows should just be me saying, "Well, lunatics, I think we're live," for like a couple of seconds, and then calling it a day. That might be fun. Yeah, because today's just going to be a quick, fun show. And I guess it's Friday. There's much better things to be doing with your time other than glued to the screen, though I appreciate every single one of you loyal lunatics. We've started our watch party. We're going to go ahead and officially start the show, which... how many of these shows do I have to do to get this on board? But let's take a look. Lunatics, let me know if you can hear the music. Welcome to hotlou Happy Hour. I'm your host, Louis Abramowski, or somewhat endlessly known as hotlou, as now I'm getting the audio coming in from my phone, which it's good. I know that there's audio on the music side. So anyway, this is hotlou Happy Hour. I'm your host, hotlou, and got to turn this volume down. So today I just wanted to talk about one interesting thing that happened to me this week. I had a relatively normal day, and it felt pretty good. So as the loyalist lunatics will know, on Wednesday we did our show live from Nickelodeon Universe, the theme park at the center of Mall of America, celebrating both their 28th birthday and their brand new opening. We had an amazing conversation with Dan Jasper, the Vice President of Communications at Mall of America. And, I'm going to recommend everybody go check it out. I thought the interview was fun. He had a really great sense of humor. I kind of sat there awkwardly while Mike Loaf and Dan had an amazing conversation, and I was just along for the ride, trying to figure out our very janky setup. But, my whole day felt very normal. I had just like a handful. Yeah, okay. Now I got distracted by loyal lunatic Brandon Mattis on whether or not I'm being paid for always wearing all of the windshield gear here. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm not being paid, although I've been slightly compensated. Maybe in mostly in merch. So yeah, I have been bribed to wear a little bit of this. And you know what? I'm gonna throw it out to the lunatics here. If you're looking for a spot on the show, whether it's through Wise Eye Brewing right here, Matt Lancaster and Wise Eye Brewing being a very loyal lunatic. I love that. Supporting the show. If you have a business, and I'm looking at the replay here, watching this, make sure I pointed at the right spot. But yeah, if you've got a business and you want to sponsor hotlou Happy Hour, we're trying to figure this whole thing out. August is going to continue to be just like a handful of these shows. But, today, like I said, I wanted to talk about normalcy, and I'm hoping that, loyal lunatics, you might want to chime in and let me know if you've had any days like this. But I woke up in the morning, I, made my breakfast. I had a couple of Zoom calls, a couple of sales calls, did my typical show prep with Mike Loaf with a couple of text messages. I had to actually meet with a contractor doing some work on one of my properties. I followed up that with a trip that I had to make to the bank. And then right to Mall of America, where we did a show. And then Mike and I were able to go sit down on a patio and have a beer, which was pretty great. And then I followed that up by playing some Frisbee. We've got a small group that's kind of going above and beyond all of the state guidelines, which the state guidelines are already way above all of the national guidelines. But we've got a little bubble group playing some Frisbee, which is has been awesome. It's been really helpful for me, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, loyal lunatic Brandon Mattis chiming in and saying distracting people and giving them shit is his favorite pastime. I think that common thread bleeds through the entire ultimate frisbee community, so I can appreciate that. But yeah, Wednesday just felt, other than the fact that we were doing the interview with masks, we were walking through Mall of America with masks, everybody was social distancing. Um, and and carefully at that, I would say, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was Dan Jasper had mentioned that there was maybe a handful of people that weren't necessarily wearing masks because they might have had some sort of health exception. But what I saw was, apart from like a handful of like 4-year-olds who were just like kind of goofing around, I saw like, I didn't see a single adult with their mask like over their chin or, actively not trying to comply, which was pretty amazing. And, I think that's going to help. I know that people think that, I shouldn't say people, there are lunatics with a lowercase L out there who still think that the mask is doing absolutely no help. But I think the fact that people are out doing these like normal things all across America, and we see cases spiking all over the place, kind of harkens back to what Mike Loaf and I talked about maybe 6 weeks ago, that we expected to see these like just gigantic surges from, the protests, from the rioting, and and by protests, I mean the George Floyd protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, the presidential protests, the mask wearing mandate protests. Everybody, we expected to see these like gigantic, huge spikes, and we haven't really seen, like, we have seen spikes, but not like to the level that we thought we would. Plus, we haven't seen just like this dramatic spike in deaths. We're seeing a very flattened curve. And I think with a handful of these things happening, that's really got to be what's driving this. Is we've got a ton of compliance with the mask wearing. We've got a bunch of people who absolutely refuse still. And, it sucks that there's those people out there still that think that somehow the virus is just like going through their mask, despite the fact, or complete absolute lowercase L lunatics who think that masks will kill them. And I jokingly published on the facebook.com/hotlou.com Facebook page that I ran the numbers, and the deaths right now from COVID-19 are right around 170,000. The deaths from mask wearing up until this point, and I've been searching, that's a big fat zero still. So all of you people out there that claim that you can die from wearing a mask, like, I mean, I don't know what is going through your head. But I have to say, the mask wearers, the social distancers, the people who are still isolating, and the people who are doing a really good job at, if they are maybe doing some more active activities like going to a restaurant or, playing sports within the guidelines, that if you're isolating yourself from the people who are most vulnerable, that's definitely helping with the number of deaths. And as a result, it's certainly feeling much safer out there while we kind of tread water and hope for some researchers and scientists to fast track a vaccine or start finding therapies that are even more effective than the ones that we've got. And we have noticed a decrease in the infection fatality rate, and as a result, I think that definitely grants people a much greater level of security, or a feeling of security to approach some sort of normalcy. So I don't know, special thanks out to those people like that, where, finally I felt like I got to a relatively close normal day. But I think that's about as normal as it's going to get until we, are past, vaccine and therapy stages. And, we're probably still looking at, I don't know. Fauci said like a few weeks ago that it's possible to see a vaccine by the end of the year, but it's going to be a pretty big challenge, as well as we're seeing Russia push through some very unethical vaccine trials, so that'll be pretty fascinating too. But I don't know. I just wanted to say thanks and reach out to the loyal lunatics out here and see if you guys are having some kind of more normal days as I got to experience this week. And hoping that next week will be the same, that maybe 1 or 2 of those days will feel normal. I know tomorrow is going to feel a little bit like that for me, but it's going to be on the work side of things. So that's it for today's show. Again, I'm going to recommend everybody hop over to YouTube. We are flirting with 10 subscribers. I mean, they said it couldn't be done. All the naysayers out there said we couldn't hit double digits with the subscribers, but we are so close. So go out there and subscribe, and tell a friend about hotlou Happy Hour as we try to kind of work towards what the future holds for us. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to a very quick and happiest and bat-free happy hour. Next week, we don't have any guests planned, but we are trying for a couple, as well as a couple of different areas where we might do something a little bit different with the show and get more experimental. But thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. All the likes, the comments, the shares, the watch parties means a lot as we kind of glide into the fall here and figure out where we're going to go with hotlou Happy Hour. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to today's hotlou Happy Hour. I am your host, hotlou. Have a great weekend, and we will talk